I'm Audrey here at Fallen Tree Farm. This is most likely my first YouTube video. Just decided to go for it this morning, and we're here in my garden. It is September 28th in southern New Mexico, mid to southern New Mexico here, just south of Albuquerque. And a lot of people's gardens have been overrun with weeds, or have had breaks in plumbing, or they've just been too busy. And I have been very lucky to have this beautiful garden this year. But it's not the first year I've done this, obviously. So I really thought I would share just a bit about my garden and what has gone well for me this year, and some experiments I did that have really paid off. So before I lose my nerve, let's do it. So we're going to start at the beginning of my garden here when I come in. This is what I call the first bed, but this is the first row of three little, I think they're 3x3 or 4x4 beds that have served me well. I bought them a while back from Gardener's Supply. Actually, my mother-in-law did. So she buy these beds. They've done well for us. But we're going to start our tour over here. I'll probably explain a bit about my gardening story along the way. So here is a bed that actually has quite a bit in it, and it's a bit of an experiment. So this bed initially was for onions, and it actually does still have a lot of onions in it, as you can see, that are still growing for me. They haven't flopped over. Also, I moved a few eggplants that were not in good enough sunlight to be helped there. Let's see if I can show you. And then on July 18th, I was watching Epic Gardening, and he was talking about the things you can plant in July. So I ordered the 5 things he talked about, and one of them was beans. So here in the middle, I have planted black-eyed peas, but they are beans, a legume, and they are doing just great. I have a pod over here that is drying, and that was just such a win. So I really shouts out to them. There's a couple more in here. Actually, there's another thing from Epic Gardening right here. This is a dwarf sunflower. I believe it's called Sunspot. I started that, my dogs and pigs, on July 18th as well. So over here, fig tree, some stuff I put in late. Probably get back to that. But this is the first year I've extended to a winter garden on my own. I apprenticed, I like to say, to my mother-in-law for about 15 years. She was a gardener for 40 years or more, and she just taught me everything she knew, and I'm so grateful. And then we've made improvements. Our plumbing this year was pretty great. That's not on accident. We did have problems last year and the 15 years before. And so that's my tomato field, and beyond it is the squash field. Some cucumbers and squash going strong. Sunflower burned himself out. Get a load of the tomatillos. There were 2 that I planted, these 2. And these 2 have just overflowed the box. But we have volunteers as well, and I pulled most of them. But, I should explain a volunteer. Volunteer is one that just grew on its own from something from last year that probably dropped seed. That's what this one is. But right here is the 2 I planted, and this is just overflowing with fruit. So I need to get to that and preserve it forthwith. Right next to our enormous tomatillo bed, we have a bed that's becoming more of a perennial bed. It had an alyssum plant in it this year that just did beautifully and dropped a ton of seeds. So as you can see right there, we've got babies galore. I'm sure this bed will be full of them next year. There's also some tarragon. I've freeze-dried a bunch of that so far. Some collards, sage, borage. If you've never grown it, they're little pretty flowers. Taste like cucumber. And people candy them, or used to. So I have been freeze-drying quite a few of those this year. Eggplant pan. This is my cilantro that went to seed, so I have been freeze-drying it for coriander. The seed of a cilantro plant is coriander, and you just take them off when they're green and let them dry, or let them dry on the plant, and you have coriander. There's my Italian oregano. I believe this one was Italian. Yes, it was Italian oregano. It's taken over that pot. This was a late plant, a fall plant of arugula and carrots in a pot. These are some carrots that are becoming harvestable right now. They are underneath the tomatillo plants. I think they could have done with a little more sun, but I did put them in here pretty early on this year so I would have a fall crop, and they're actually doing well. These are a variety called White Satin that I ordered from Johnny's. In here also, I will link a lot of this down below if I can figure out how to do this, because it's my first time. I did put basil in here, a couple of them, because they do well in the shade, and so I knew the tomatillo would get big. What I shouldn't have done is stuck this habanero in here, but I forgot how big the tomatillos get. And this habanero I overwintered from a technique I learned, I believe, on Pepper Geek. So I don't think I don't know how to link that or if I can find it, but I'm going to do my best here. Bear with me. If I don't link it, I'll do my best. So this is a bed right next to that one with some more sage, of course, cabbages and stuff, greens, stock for the winter. That'll last. That'll keep growing throughout the winter. I need to dust with some BT to get rid of the probably cabbage moths. I also have basil I plant in the corners of these beds because I find that they're shaded. That's one of the things that I experimented with last year and works quite well. If I plant basil underneath things like I did over here where we just left, and like I am right here, it does better in our New Mexico climate. So this is definitely very tailored to our New Mexico climate, which is quite unforgiving, but can be so rewarding. So on to the next one. I know it's a little disorienting, so I'm trying to keep track, but we did those front two beds. We have another one here of those square black ones. We did the tomatillo beds. So this is my bed that had some really hot peppers in it. It had, I can't remember. I think these ones were the Carolina Reapers, and the sun's out so I can barely see. Yeah, Carolina Reapers that are starting to turn. I also have in here one I grew from seed. It's a new one for me this year, but we're loving it. It's called Aleppo. I'm going to overwinter one of those. My parsnips. Parsnips are challenging for so many reasons, but I have them planted in several places, and they grow, even when they're planted at the same time, they don't grow at a consistent speed. One will grow fast, and the one next to it will be small. So, oh, I hate those beetles. Let's pretend I didn't squeal like a girl. So onward, we are at my hot pepper bed. So another thing I did in here that I thought was it's another one of those underplantings. So I do that a lot. So I plant above and I'll plant below, and I'll talk about that a lot in here. And that's something my mother-in-law taught me. Here's some more parsnips. She was absolutely amazing. I wish I could see better on my phone. I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about. She worked for years, but she also always had a garden. Put in apple trees here where I have apple trees now. This is mint I planted in here. I didn't know if it would do well with all the capsaicin, but it did do okay. I've freeze dried some of that. So I've already pulled out a Tabasco plant that I'm turning into Tabasco sauce. In this bed, I had some regular celery. One of them's kind of coming back. But over here I have what's called cut and come again celery. So most of you probably know, but I'm able to cut from the bottom and more will sprout back up. I am not sure how hardy celery is. I have never been this successful with celery. This year I did very well. So I'm going to find out. Next to it though, I have calendula, which I do believe would have done better from just a little more sun, because this sunflower volunteered itself. Last year I planted sunflowers in the cinder blocks in here in the garden, and some of them reseeded themselves in my beds, so it gave it a lot of shade where I didn't know it was going to happen, which was good for the celery, but the calendula actually could have used a bit more sun, I believe. I couldn't see for a minute on my screen, so I don't know if I got everything in the picture. Over here was my potato bed. It's got some other stuff in it now. There's some leaks here and there. Here in the front, since we're here, we'll talk about these. These are my grow bags. I know a lot of people are using them. I have had these for a long time. My mother-in-law bought them, I don't know, 8 years ago, something like that, for potatoes, because around here where I am in my garden, we have had a problem with ground squirrels in the past. So they will go and get up underground and eat the roots of your crop, and you won't even know that's happening until it's all gone. All right, I was just giving you a little panoramic view there while I was talking. So in these bags, I planted artichokes because I have had artichokes before that grew for 5 years, and then the ground squirrels ate their edible roots, and I was devastated. And I had 2 varieties. It was fantastic. So I have started again. So I put my artichokes in the grow bags. I also did another one of the things from Epic Gardener. Let me see if I can go around and talk about it. So bear with me. I am doing all of this with my phone. So if it's a little unsteady, I don't have it on the tripod thing or anything. It's just me. Why is this beetle after me? Stand by. I know exactly why they're after me. It's because I'm disturbing their stuff. So they're dive bombing me. But you'll see in here, I believe we can see that we have artichoke in here. And then we also have this nice pumpkin vine. So these that are in here are called Lumina. They are from Botanical Interest through Epic Gardening. I know I mentioned them a lot, but I did several things that they mentioned this year. This isn't a promo for them or anything. I just really did watch a lot of their videos this year, and some things really work. So shout out to them. So this here is a vine called Lumina. It's a white pumpkin. I put it in July 18th. And we do have a pumpkin on it. I don't know, I can't even see the screen, but I showed it to you a minute ago. So shouts out to the purple grow bags that we bought. Didn't work. We put the potatoes in them. That's the story I was telling. Because the ground squirrels ate the potatoes that were underground, ate the artichoke roots. I put those in grow bags this year. And this time, I'm hoping to get them through. But also, this is where I decided to do the experiment and put these in late. I say experiment because starting stuff in July is not that common.